All
Yeah, no, it
right.
sounds fun.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, just hit record, so we're good there. And really, again, this is about you, and so I'm excited to have you here and hear your experience in games, as well as just understand a bit more of your story. But before we jump in, if you would care to share your name and how you specifically intersect with the games industry.
Hi, my name's Alex Kanaris-Sotiriou, and I'm an indie developer at Polygon Treehouse. We make art-led narrative games.
Wonderful, wonderful. And what led you to being in the profession that you're in? How did you get your start?
So I went to university to study animation. It wasn't necessarily games; it was all different types of animation. And in my final year, Sony came and set one of the final year projects to make a PlayStation 2 character.
Yeah.
It's quite a long time ago, and then they gave me I got a junior position off the back of that, and actually, yeah, went to move down from the north of England down into Cambridge and started working for Sony, working on PlayStation games. It's quite different then, but yeah, that was how I got in. But before that, I was really interested in films, all types of animation. I did art foundation and studied sculpture a bit before I went to university. So yeah, I had quite a broad interest in art and storytelling, and then that kind of got narrower and narrower, and then eventually I kind of yeah got my first foot into games.
Yeah, yeah. I would love to know when from your start up until now, do you have a time where, whether that was still, cutting your teeth in the industry or, a little bit down the ways that you had some moments where you had a really immenseful and enjoyable experience, a joyful experience, excuse me. Yeah, I would love to know more.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's two moments, and they have a strange resonance.
Yeah.
So basically, when I started off in games, it was PlayStation 2, and everything was quite broad. So as a character artist, I would make and rig and animate the characters. We'd direct the cutscenes. We'd kind of do a bit of everything, and that was really exciting to me because you got to find out how everything works and how
Yeah.
everything's put together. And then over my like 14 years at PlayStation, like as my path to becoming an art director, everything got more and more specialized, and you
Yeah.
had less. You were kind of in a smaller and smaller box, and you had less to do with other things. So I worked as a kind of character artist on Killzone 2, and that was super specific.
Hmm.
It was just like you're just doing this, just doing these high level sculpts. So the kind of start of my career I found to be the most exciting, and strangely, that then happened again when we went indie because because we yeah because it was the same thing. We were doing everything again, doing all the different disciplines, doing UI, doing cinematography. And I think I really enjoyed the breadth of that creativity that the kind of early consoles brought,
Right.
and also working with indie games now. So yeah.
Sorry for the interruption. We at post nap time, we see routinely likes to run right to my office and make herself known. When you were talking about how you had went from handling a couple different hats and having a much broader role at your start of PlayStation, and now there's a little bit more specificity in not only the roles that you occupied, but maybe some of which you had expressed earlier. Do you find in your current studio is that same sort of specificity kind of at hand for you all, or do you get an opportunity to occupy a few of those hats again and have a little bit more of a broader spectrum?
Yeah, so that's what I really love about working as an indie, that you can see everyone's fingerprints on everything. So people
Yeah.
do get a chance to jump in and try lots of different things. Like like our team is, we try to work quite smart and make games that feel bigger than the team is. And so yeah, I'll work across character art, character tech, UI,
Yeah.
VFX, story. Like we'll do everything, like filing the accounts.
Yeah. Oh
So
my
you know,
gosh.
it's a
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that's what I find really enjoyable is that every day is is different, and there's always
Yeah.
a new challenge. And I think people who we work with and collaborate with, they also enjoy some of that freedom. They're not just doing a monotonous thing again and again and again,
Hmm.
and then they get the variety because I think that's really it's really important for the mind and creativity that you kind of you're stimulated by different things. So I think
Hmm.
that breadth of creativity and and work's really important to people
Yeah.
who work with us, and for me.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I love the opportunities of being able to collaborate with multiple team members, people who are bringing their experiences into a space and celebrating the diversity of all of that thought coming together. You mentioned a little bit of like, some of the challenge that comes with that, and I'm curious if there's now with a new studio or newer studio, um, what have been some of the challenges in pursuing in development, pursuing the titles that you have out, or anything else that's in the works?
Um, I think everything is a challenge. I think there's the challenge of communication when you're
Yeah,
working remotely with people. I think there's one of the things that we tried to do when we started off the company in Cambridge. We would kind of have like get everyone together in a cafe and be pointing at things and scribbling on notepads. And I
yeah,
think with COVID and some of the lockdowns, that has been more of a challenge to have those kind of getting everyone together and like scribbling on things. Because obviously video calls and everything is amazing, but I tend to find that sometimes there's some communication can break down quite easily on like
hmm,
Slack or Discord, and actually it's better just to jump on a call and like share a screen and run around the game
yeah,
and chat about things as we're going. So I think you have to put more effort into that thing to make sure that everyone's on the same page. Documentation is like one of the more boring parts of game development, but actually there's something really nice there about making sure that everyone has the same information, that people can go and edit things. So I think the kind of the communication side of things is one of the big challenges of working like remotely with people. But I think like all challenges, there's some really cool solutions there, and I think it's about
hmm,
finding out what not only works in a general sense, but what can work for each team member, because people's brains work differently,
yeah.
and people will be more receptive to different types of communication. So yeah, so that's always changing, always evolving, and that's generally one of the things I love about indie development is you're always learning, you're always getting better, as long as you're staying receptive and you're listening to people and you're soaking stuff up. I think it's a really it's something that's really neat about working in indie games.
Yeah, yeah. Now, while you were sharing that story, I also had an opportunity to get a pleasant look at some of the occupants that are with you in the background. And if
Ah,
I'm not mistaken, just above your head is one of the characters to the title that y'all had put out, right? That's for Roki.
yeah, so she's Tuve, and she's a young girl going into the Scandinavian wilderness to try and rescue her brother from Röki, who's the monster.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so it's a plushie that was prototype plushie that got made. So yeah, we tend to like, guess when we're working, I always like to surround ourselves with like plants
Yeah,
and interesting things to try and stimulate the brain. So and it's nice to kind of have in a world where everything is like on a phone or like digital. It's nice to have real world things to remind you of the different things you've done. Like we've got like a plaque for the physical release of the game back
yeah.
there as well. So it's it's nice to have those keepsakes.
Among those keepsakes or anything else, what are some of the things that inspire you or inspire your team to for titles such as Roki or anything else?
I think one of the things that really inspires us is exploring non-violent games. And I
Yeah,
think we, in our time, especially towards the latter end of working at PlayStation, worked on lots of shooting games, worked on like a few of the games in the Killzone series. I think as we as individuals were getting older and seeing what was happening in the world, um, we kind of had enough of making violent games, and we wanted to explore storytelling and non-violent games and try and make games that have emotional impact. And that was very much what we tried to do with Rurky, and it was our first indie game, but we were really pleased with how that resonated and how the story went,
yeah,
connected with people. And it's something we're doing again with Mythwrecked, which is about making new friends that just happen to be the long lost Greek gods.
yeah.
So that human uh, connection with characters and emotions is the thing that really drives us.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of catching Jenny Wyndham, Kim Chica's stream of Roki, and it was just a really impactful experience. And so, understanding your motivations for the type of game experiences that you want to create adds just a lot of value in the gameplay and story that I had a chance to witness. I think it's really wonderful to be able to take those experiences that you've had under Sony and interpret new outcomes within the games industry. There's a lot of impact for the players that are going to be engaging with those games and considering what other impact or what other outcomes they might want to bring to the industry as well. When considering all of those things and having that sort of insight, what is your opinion of like the future of the games industry? We have, and not in any specific comment on anything in particular, but just that we have things like AI and AR and advancements in hyper-realism with Unreal 5 and all of these different things. And so I would love to know from your experience in how you look at the way that you want to create games. What do you think about the future of games?
So I think it's equal parts incredibly exciting and quite scary at the same time. And I think the scary parts are things like AI taking away people's jobs and creativity, and like diluting games by just firing loads of regurgitating loads of games and flooding a marketplace. So that kind of things is quite scary. I think the exciting things are it's in some ways it's easier for people to make games than it's ever been. People can make games. They don't have to spend loads of money writing their own engine. They don't have to buy huge bits of massively expensive software. So compared to when I left university, like making games is much more accessible, which is really, really exciting. I think the thing that I hope for games is that there are those unique experiences. I think that's the thing that I find really exciting about games. Those experiences that you can only get in games, the types of stories that you can only get in games. And I think that's where games continuing to find their unique voice, because they do have a unique power to tell stories and to immerse people in worlds and take people places. So I think that's the thing I find really, really exciting, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with as the bigger games cost more and more and longer to make. What happens that do smaller games rise up to fill those gaps and offer something different? So but all in all, I'm always the optimist. So excited to see what new games and what new experiences come out.
I have to I appreciate your optimism. I appreciate your lens for games, because it creates titles like Roki and it creates titles like Mythwreck. So thank you for making those types of contributions, because they're inspiring individuals like myself to create titles that also can make similar connections to its players. Speaking of new worlds and developing titles like this, this is the part of the segment where I mentioned earlier we're going to build our own character together in some sort of one-off scenario. This is hopefully not intended to induce any anxiety about the potential outcomes, but to be short, light, and fun. Whatever happens. And so I have for you, I've just been making up scenarios on the fly. There's no backlog or anything that I have, no secrets to this, but I have for you a scenario. Your ship has just crash landed. The context of that ship and how it crashed is up to you. You get out, and what does your character? You disembark. I want to be vague. And so, what does your character look like? Where are you?
So, one of my favorite things to do in games is fishing of any type of game. So I'd disembark on a very, very alien lagoon-like planet. Its craters are filled with purple waters, gurgling with tentacle wildlife, and I would get out my all-purpose intergalactic fishing rod. And I'd go and try and catch some very, very strange fish.
That's excellent, because you've of course traveled. You were prepared with that fishing rod in case you landed. I love this sort of spatial aspect that we've built on the context of just ship and disembark. I think that's really wonderful. Alex, I thank you so much for sharing your time and wanting to provide insight into how you got your start in the industry, as well as the really incredible stories that you and your studio are working to share and put out into the world.
You're very welcome, and yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. Where can people keep up with you if they want to keep up with you, and where can people keep up with the titles that you're working on?
So people can find Mythwrecked and Roki on Steam. We have a Twitter account that's at Poly Treehouse. There are many social accounts now that we have, but if you search for Polygon Treehouse in your favorite search engine, you're sure to find us.
Wonderful. Thank you again, and I look forward to catching up with you at the nearest opportunity. Take care.
Look forward to it.